Hello and welcome. These are horse racing selections for Wednesday, the 24th of May. I am Flat Cap Callum and I'm hoping you are all very, very well. All right. Wednesday, we are here at the start of the Flat Cap Callum week. And for Wednesday selections, I didn't find a lot, be honest. There's not a lot out there for me. So it is a mere £5 bet, quarter stake day, which I've converted. I've got an each way pattern and a win short price treble. So it's not going to be for everyone. There's nothing kind of real stand out with the prices. If it wasn't a video day, and I probably wouldn't have even put out in the comments. So just going to be completely clear and transparent. It's not a great day for value. You're not going to have a Bahamas day certainly on Wednesday the 24th on my bets. We are £5 staking. So you make your choices about what you do. The key thing here is with the channel is £20 is what I say is the average day stake. And what I decided very, very early on when I did the channel, I've got the flex because I round it to £5, so I can either do 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, depending on the size and scope of what there is for the day. So I think Saturday we had £35 down. Today we got £5 down. So the most it will ever be is 40. The minimum is 5. It's always 5 increments, but it also means that I can make the bets consistent. So it's not like I'm going, I've got one horse and I'm going to do £5, so it's £2.50 each way. I don't think I've ever done that. Maybe I have, possibly one, but it's not really my modus operandi on here. So that is what we've got. So before I get to that, I've got a bit of a list I've got to do. I've got to do a review of Sunday, which won't take very long because it was only a bit. I've got to mention about the comment stuff because there was horses in the comments for Tuesday. Then I'll go through Wednesday's bet, and then I've got a series of topics. I've been really a bit strung for time, so there are a bunch of really good questions in the comments I have not yet had a chance to answer. So I'm going to try and answer some of them with a little bit here. So after I've gone through the bet, I'm going through betting bank and records. I've had a question about that. Question about cash out, which I get quite regularly, so I'm going to go through that again for anyone who's new. And withdrawing cash is another one I'm going to go through because I've talked about withdrawing cash on Sunday, but then probably should go through a bit more detail about withdrawing cash. Just want a bit of a recap for anyone who's new, how the channel works in terms of the schedule, when I do videos, why I do videos at certain times, and when I'm in the comments, that kind of stuff. So I'm noticing there's an increase of subscribers, understandably, because it's been a good day, so people just then jump on. That's all still to come. So as far as Sunday goes, we had 10 on and 13. I think it was 13.30 back. I think it was a slight profit. So we started off and we were thinking, hang on a minute, is this the Saturday carry on? Astro Man had all the luck. I mean, so many times I come in here and go, we didn't have any luck. That horse looked like it was booked for a place. Then the horse that was leading fell at the last, hindered the horse in second, and that one flew past. So don't really know what the outcome would have been, but I don't think that horse looked like it was going to win. So Astro Man went in after being backed in, so that was nice, and I'm pretty sure people would have been able to got 20s on that. Then Polygrandchamp pulled up, no show really. Danzini, it was no good, and Rick Dalton got a funny old ride really, and sort of came at the end but a bit late. So just had a win on that Lucky 15. If you're Sky or Betfred, you got the bonus for one winner, so you'd have done better off that. And then in this one, we had Van Gerwen. I thought it was going to win, and I got collared on the line, and I think it was 12s, but I had 12s with a 20p rule 4. Better days are coming. Then that ran a great race and was third, and then we had a bit of a duffer there in Irv. He just never got a good run, and fourth would have been all right for Sky. He'd have had a place treble with a non-runner, which was the last. So it was a slight profit. It should be a slight profit whoever you bet with, as long as you bet before the prices come in, because I did make a point of saying on that video for Sunday selections, I felt we had a lot of price sensitive stuff, and sure enough, the prices did a tumble. Not quite the same, I don't think, for Wednesday. It's not quite the same price sensitive stuff. So so that was about £3.30 up. So I think we ended up the week some in the region of just over £500 up for the week. which was clearly the best week of the channel this year for 2023. I think it ended up 435% profit, which is the second most profitable week in terms of percentage profit we've had on the channel. So yeah, no one's going to knock a 435% profit in a week. So that was decent. And yeah, that came off the backdrop of the year, really. Of January, we kind of lost. We made it all back at the beginning of February, and then we lost the rest of February, March. And then if you look at April standalone, we had a good month, April, and now May's turning out to be a good month. So it depends on when you look at the stats, because for some people, and I keep talking about it, it hadn't been a good year for 2023. Now 2023, just if you look in isolation, looks fine if you just look at the bare result, but we are propped up by one day, and I don't really want that to be the case, particularly when I know that shop punters probably aren't quite in the same situation from a stats point of view. That I know Sky, Bet365, and some of the other online ones probably be all right. So it's a good place to be, but I'd much rather that I was confident that was kind of an all round sharedy thing. April, May have now been good. So 2023 hasn't been bad. You could look at the narrative and go, well, actually, it was just January, February, March that weren't very good. And last year we won 9 months, lost on 3. So anyone who's new coming to the channels, that has been a really, really bad run. But those people join at the turn of the year don't necessarily have the reference point to look at last year unless you go and look at all the videos. By the way, all of the stats are always in the description. They're updated every single day. There's a profit and loss, a running total for the 2023 year, running total since I started, all the months that we've ever started. It's all in the description for those of you who've never noticed. It's all in there, so feel free to go and have a look. It's all super, super clear and transparent. So yeah, now 2023 doesn't look so bad because of that one day. But yeah, I want that's the next challenge is to now we're ahead for the year is not for it not to be based purely on one day, because that is not a very safe strategy plan, is it? And last year we built up our profit over multiple days. So 19% profit we're in for the channel, 31% since we started, and yeah, so. Grand. That's a good place to be, and I think the different people will record stats in completely different ways. So, what we're saying here is if you started off with £100 when you followed the channel, you'd now have something in the region of kind of £2,600 if you've been following the channel from when it started. And I know there's different people will interpret stats in different ways. It's just a nice clean way of kind of doing stats. It's on a week by week basis. It's a level points system from that point of view, so it's easier for people to see and track it and stuff like that. But everyone does their stats in a different way, and they're perfectly entitled to do that. All I'd say is make sure they're legitimate. Clearly, as we've talked about many times, there are slightly dodgy dealings going on in places, out in the horse racing tips world. So there are some people who play a bit fast and loose. There are plenty of other channels out there these days that do things above board. So yeah, I am not the only above board channel in that respect. Anything else I'm going to say about the stats? I think that's it. So comments, nothing in the comments Monday. Tuesday we had a good start, but 4 in the comments on Tuesday, and the first one placed. I think I put it up. It was 40s. It was SP at 25s, and unfortunately the other 3 were no good. There was a few others there was a bit of value definitely about to be had on Tuesday. I think if I'd done a video, I don't think I would have made money the way I'd have done the video. There were other horses around that I would have put up on the video that did all right, but I think overall I don't think we missed anything on Tuesday. But sadly, yeah, anyone who followed the comments, it was a 0, well, not a 0 return, it was a loss from one place at 40 to 1. And just to clarify for anyone who's new, I do videos on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, Friday, Saturday morning, Saturday night. So I cover selections for Wednesday to Sunday, and I don't do selections on Monday and Tuesday. If I like anything, I put stuff in the comments from Sunday's video for Monday and Tuesday. So I'll always pin it to the top, and there's always a comment thread. Irrespective of if I've got tips, I might put something in there just as some form of a comment, and then other people share their tips. And it's quite nice because people do that more so on a Monday and a Tuesday, and other days of the week they don't. Some people do it every day of the week, some people do it less. and then people can see what other people are taking, and then it's entirely up to you. There's nobody in those comments is professing to be some sort of professional tipster. It's just people sharing what they do, and there's some very good people in there who spot and pull out some very lovely things. I think Susan pulled out Pinball Wizard. I think it SP'd at 25. She backed it at 50 to 1 yesterday. There's people in there that regularly hit some nice prices in there, but the challenge, as everybody has, is even if you find the nice prices, what the game we're trying to play here is string them together, and even if you've got the right ones, to try and get them in the right bets together, it does then present itself an even bigger challenge. So so that's in the comments. And anything I put in the comments, I don't record for statistics. I think, Charlie, thank you very much. You've helpfully answered a question on that for me. But I don't record it for statistics. Just purely on a fairness point of view, one time last year, I put something in the comment thinking everyone would see it, and they didn't. There was a lot of people saw it, but not everybody. And then I recorded it for the stats, and then I was like, then people were like, well, I didn't see it. And I was like, right, okay, I'll never do that again. So anything I put in the comments is not recorded for statistics. And there's been some good bets in the comments, and there's not ones. But what I do in the comments is I literally just put my preferred selections. I don't suggest to you how you want to bet them. I don't put them in a staking plan. So it's entirely up to you what you do with them. So it's sort of a mixed level of service that I offer. But I record the statistics for anything I put out on a video. All right. That was a long old ramble. Let's just spin through the quick Thursday bet, because this is all I got. So each way pattern, 4 o'clock air, Golden Valor 16s. That's the one with the most value in it. No extra places in that race. It's also the biggest price. 8.10 Kempton Protected Guest at 11s. 8.40 Kempton Bug Boy 12s. 25p each way patent. So that's each way singles, doubles and treble. So that's a £3.50 bet. Sky Best, but only because the 8.40 there. It's the 8.10. They're 4. Everyone else is free. Everyone's 3 there. Most people are 4 there. So a slight advantage on the 8-10. And then, then I had a little look for any sort of win bets, and they're all a bit short, to be honest. So I just thought, well, I'm just going to stick it in there as a treble, because it's not worth your while really doing that as a Trixie at those sort of prices, and I'm certainly not backing them as singles. So in terms of, channel stake, £1.50, so what's that? 7.5% of a day's stake. That's what, let's get that right. 7.5% of a day's stake. I'm happy to put 7.5% of a day's stake towards those 3. But clearly, we need all 3 to win. So it's 6.20 Southwell, JT at evens, 6.50 Noah 32 red 6 to 4, 7.50 Maristika 5 to 6. £1.50 win treble. All 3 win, or we don't get anything back. And if they all win, then we get I think it's about 8.5 times stake back, something like that. So it's basically like putting £1.50 on an 8 like a 17 to 2 shot, something like that. I think it's 13.75 it pays back for those. I think 13.75. I think that's right. That's it. Take it or leave it. I'm only putting £5 down. I don't advise you going big on any of this stuff. If we can win there, we win for the day, and we're up £3. Lovely. If we can get a couple of places there, then that bet pays for itself. We get one winner in there, that bet generally would pay for itself, possibly not quite with Protected Guest. That's what we got. All right, okay, so that's the bets, the recap. Topics we were going to talk about, betting bank and records. So Drawman asked me a question about this. If I give it a verbal response, it saves me. I mean, it takes me hours to write replies to comments and stuff sometimes like that. So I'm much better talking. So I will, if I've referenced it, I'll try and make sure I've let you know that it's in the video. But Drawman asked me about betting records, betting bank, because I don't really talk about betting bank so much on here. And what I do personally, as well as for the channel, because obviously for the channel I keep a lot of statistics. Personally, what do I do? Usually, if I'm opening a new betting account, I will deposit somewhere in the region of £100 or £200 in there, and that would be it. I would expect that would be all I would need, and then over time I build that up, and then when it gets to a reasonable amount, so probably once it gets past the sort of 500 mark, I'll then withdraw whatever I put in to start with. And then I know anything in there is basically pure profit. That's how I work it. So at any one time, I've probably got about shake the screen, about 8 different betting accounts on the go. And I won't use them all every day. It's good to mix it around, and some days use all of them for like a really busy day, and other days I don't. And then work it till it gets restricted. That's kind of the gig. And there's a few things I try. It's hard because sometimes I don't feel like I can talk openly on things because you never know what's happening or who's watching. But yeah, there are things that you can do that I've alluded to before, and part of it's in the staking plan in terms of what we do, because if purely all you do is betting with value, and there was a question on there as well about from somebody else, linked point really, about they had their account restricted because they basically tried to withdraw money. They won money on Saturday, they tried to withdraw it, and Skybet, as it was, have now rectified the situation, I believe, but did originally say, no, you can't have your money. And I don't withdraw, as much as I said withdraw money, and like it's sensible to withdraw it, don't leave it in there if you're tempted. I never withdraw money in huge chunks. So if I'm taking money out of a betting account that I've got that I no longer can really use, I take it out in gradual increments. So not to draw attention to the fact that there is large amounts of money moving in and out. Well, it's not moving in, to be fair, it's moving out. So if you do build up money in there, if you're not tempted to do anything with it, then it can just sit there. So I have money that builds up in my betting accounts. It doesn't affect me. So there are people, there's different strategies. There are people, who just build up that money over time. That's how I choose to do that. There are people that then the more they build up, the bigger amount of money in their betting account, which is technically their betting bank, the more that they would then choose to bet. So they would increase their stakes. It's not something that I encourage or talk about on the channel because I am uncomfortable on behalf of people that won't have the discipline. That very quickly, if you go from betting 20p each way, that if you have a couple of wins, suddenly if you're betting a percentage of a betting bank, you could be finding yourself betting £10 each way, and then it gets to £20 each way. And if you have a really, really heavy loss day or a heavy loss week, suddenly that the feeling with that is not a good one at all. And for some people, the emotion of betting is too much. So Drawman talked about, and I completely get this. He's found a level of where he's comfortable betting. So he was increasing his betting stake based on how much his betting bank was going up. That's what he said. But he found it was uncomfortable with the amount of money that he was betting, and people have got to find theirs. And what I try and do in the channel is I don't get into that kind of stuff because it's a casual channel in terms of what I'm trying to do. I'm not here to try and make people millions of pounds. That's not the intent. The intent here is to show people how to win at gambling. And whether that's through my tips or the things that you hear is to educate people and help people to do that. However you choose to interpret that, or however you choose to take my tips is entirely up to you. But I keep the stake steady, always steady. Part of that is my strategy is what you would technically call high variance using EV a lot of the time. And again, I just don't touch some of this stuff, right? Because it just goes over too many people's heads, and that's why I don't get into some of the complicated mathematical algorithms to talk about and that kind of stuff. So I know some people are all over that kind of thing and they like that thing, but basically plus EV, expected value. So i.e. the goal here is to back something that a bigger price than the expected value of it. And people would general perception in the betting world is that the SP market is the expected value. That's what people would suggest to you. Some people would say to you the exchange market is a truer sense of that. And it all gets a little bit complicated. The thing that I do on here is I pick horses where I believe there is value. And sometimes that is reflected in the betting market because we back some stuff much bigger price than the actual SP. Sometimes it's because I think, irrespective of whether I think the horse's price will come in, I still think that the average punter will overlook something. So there's two different things going on in there. But anyway, I've lost my train of thought. I don't know where I was going with that one, but yeah. So we were talking about betting banks, yeah. So I choose high variance. So high variance. What high variance means is, and again, I don't usually use phrases like that. That means that there are places in the time of year where I will have swings of it will go up, it will go down. So if all you want to do is a low variance strategy, low variance technically speaking would be just backing stuff in a singular form, backing them singles. On here, we're trying to justify the fact that we've got good plus EV on a lot of the selections that I use. Therefore, the value accumulates up, and over a period of time, you should come out ahead. Now, at some point, also, if you're betting in the way I'm doing, we may hit something, a real big jackpot, and we talk about it on the channel here, and it's referred to as a Bahamas day. So when we talk about Bahamas day, that was a phrase that was used a long time ago, but basically, it's a five grand is what the benchmark we've said. So the most we've ever won on a bet on the channel since I started, sort of like 16 whatever months ago, I think it's about £500 off a £6 bet. 5,000 is the benchmark of what we said is Bahamas day. So i.e. if we win a £5,000 bet and everybody on the channel wins 5,000 off a £6 bet, we'll all go to the Bahamas and I'll pack up the channel for a bit and we'll all have a nice holiday. That's Bahamas day. And the strategy I use is high variance, but that it does allow yourself the possibility that you hit a bet like that, which absolutely is what I would call a year maker. So we've hit month makers. So a £500 winning day is what I would call a month maker, because we win that on a month. It doesn't matter how bad the rest of the month goes, we'll do all right. 5 grand is a year maker. You're guaranteeing at any point in the year, if you hit that, doesn't matter how bad your year's been. But obviously on the channel, if the worst point we've been this year, I think, was minus 270 quid. Clearly, a 5 grand boost is probably a little bit more than a year maker. It's a multiple year maker. So anyway, that was all it was a bit long and rambling. I was thinking about lots of things at the same time in my head. Hopefully that makes sense. In terms of what I record for stats, is I keep a log in an Excel spreadsheet. It's Google sheet actually, but in a sheet of every single betting account I have, and I update it every day with what is the level of money sat in those accounts. So I keep track of stuff. Every day I write down every single bet that I place, which bookmaker it was in, so I keep track of where it was. I then go through at the end of the day and look at the returns. I then keep a profit and loss for each day. I wrap that up at the end of the month. I've then got am I up or am I down at the end of the month? Most months I'm up. There are occasionally bad months when I'm down. I then keep a track of each month, and that's all then recorded. What is my profit and loss for each month, cumulative for the year, and do it like that. So I know, for instance, this year I'm looking at my own personal stats and comparing it to last year, and thinking, yeah, I'm broadly in line. So I know that the channel is slightly behind where this year than it was last year, but that, as well talked about, there's been days when I've missed stuff. So I know, had I done videos every day, because pretty much I'm backing the same horses. I might do it in slightly different bet configurations and more different combinations, but it's the same stuff. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So I don't necessarily then the actual every single daily bet, I don't keep that on like completely. Tom asked me a question the other day about have I basically got better results for the class of the race. So I keep, for the channel, I used to keep really detailed, it's got a little bit lax recently, but really detailed stats around track performance. So where I was at in terms of frame percentage for tracks, because it's really helpful to know whether it's a track that generally you read the form well, or a track that you generally find hard to read. So there's some of the outliers in Ireland. I generally struggle a little bit with places like Sligo, Tipperary, Clonmel. I don't get so excited about those. And then there are other tracks that I know, things like the All Weather, things like Southwell, Kempton, Chelmsford, I do well. I know, well documented on here, not talked about a long time, but Wolverhampton, not one I usually do well at. So I know that level of detail. From a class point of view, the bigger days we've had on the channel and the bigger wins I've had personally, generally speaking, are in better quality races. So they are generally, class 3, class 2 handicaps. And sometimes it can be group class races and things. So if it's like at festivals and things, generally speaking, it is easier to predict the form because horses are more likely to be tried to their utmost in a higher class race. In a lower class race, there is more reason for a horse not to run to its level, because people are trying to ultimately win a certain amount of races or a certain amount of prize money. In order to do that, you can't just keep running your horse to the best performance, because otherwise your horse would probably come like 5th or 6th every time and you'd make no money. So it's helpful when a horse comes 8th or 9th a few times, and then actually the next time it's probably got a lower handicap mark, so it's more likely to win. Overall, if you're an owner or a trainer, you're more likely to win more prize money doing that. Some yards are gambling yards and will know when a horse is more likely to win, and they'll send a horse out that way. More of that stuff happens in lower grade races, particularly Ireland, and particularly on the jumps. It's really easy, much easier to do on low grade hurdle races, and that's why I don't get excited on days like Tuesday at Punchestown, good track, but actually the quality of the jumps was really low quality, and therefore you know that there's a lot of yards that won't try the horses to the same extent, or there are other people that are trying that wouldn't have tried it before. You've also got the added complication is with a lot of these Irish tracks is they're very different. So some of them are tight tracks, some of them aren't, some of them are very undulating, and so different horses will perform slightly differently. So you can find some level of trend to say that a horse will, if it's run well at a certain one of those outlying tracks, but then because the meetings are less frequent, it's then harder to read because the horses have got less chance to perform. Whereas, in the UK, if a horse runs well at Ascot, there's lots of Ascot meetings over the course of a year. You can actually judge the form a little bit better. So a higher class quality of race will yield a more consistent performance, because horses are much more likely to be tried to their full extent. Unless you get to a certain point in the race and the jockey kind of feels, well, it's done. It's slightly harder at the start of the season when, first time out, trainers will know that their horses aren't quite fit, therefore they'll try, but they're not going to push it when they know that really they're just trying to put some fitness into its legs. And that's how sometimes you've got to interpret form at the start of the season. All right, I'm hoping that made some sense to people. That was my attempt at answering about 5 different questions at the same time. I'm just looking betting banks records. I think I've covered that. Lock-in accounts. So yeah, done that. Class of races. I think I've done that. And then cash outs. I've answered this a few times before, but for the benefit of the person, I think it might have been Gomez who asked me about cash outs. I don't cash out. The only time I cash out is when I've placed a bet with the deliberate intent that I will cash out. So sometimes if I see a horse that might be, for instance, a 66-1 horse that I see the night before, that I'm thinking there's no way that horse is that price. That horse, the expected value of that horse is, there's a lot of EV in it. Therefore, I'm convinced that horse probably might be more like 16-1. I would normally place 2 bets, one with the intention of cashing out when the price goes down, and if I cash that out for enough value that it basically covers the other bet, it's sort of a way of getting a free bet. So I guess in some ways you would kind of call it like a match bet in the sense of you're I wouldn't recommend others do it unless you're really confident you know what you're doing, but there's plenty of times, and you'll have seen it on the channel, I can pick a horse the night before at a massive price and then the next day it goes down to a short one. So if I'm pretty confident with those things, I can place a bet twofold, and with the view that I would draw it out. Now, most times that happens. Sometimes the price doesn't really move, so you might be able just to cash out the bet. And the key thing is, we talked about this before, cash out the bet anyway. If you put it on with the intent of cashing out, don't accidentally double stake it. Occasionally you get it wrong, and if that happens, you have to. And I talked about this once before when on the channel where I didn't do it, and it was the wrong thing to do. But sometimes if the price hasn't gone the way you thought, and it might have gone the other way, you just have to accept a little bit of a loss and withdraw that money, so you're not inadvertently double staking it. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, I think that was all my topics. So thank you for all those questions. I'm sure there's more, but I'll do my best to go through the comments where I can this week and try and answer them. All right, thank you very much. I think I've run out of breath and I need to go and get a drink and get to bed. All right, thank you. I will be back tomorrow night, where I'm very much hoping we've got a bit of a better day than £5. I haven't looked massively forward. I know we've got Curragh and Haydock, I think, coming up at the weekend. But I haven't looked close enough to really see what the read is in terms of when we might have a good day or not. But nothing to get excited about on Wednesday. So you take your choices about whether you want to do my £5 bet. All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy your Wednesday, and I'll see you Wednesday night. Bye bye.